Alright, Wyatt here, hanging out in the Delgado with Mike Maresca, and we have a few questions for him today. So first off, what is your professional field?
Live events. Well,
Live events?
Mostly sound, but I also production manage a few festivals, some camera work, but mostly live sound.
Okay, cool. What made you get into sound?
I like music, and I don't play anything, and I lost money doing promotions, so I got an internship to learn sound because I figured I'd still get into the shows for free.
Cool. Alright.
And how well you get along with other people. When you go on the road with the band or whatever, if you can't get along with the other guys in the crew, you're not going to be on the crew for very long. The rest of it's just learning how to do sound. I mean, there's a speaker, a microphone, and a in between, and they're all different, and you just kind of learn them one by one. I started on analog consoles, and now I'm working mostly in digital consoles. So basically what you guys are doing, learning for free.
Nice.
Studying
What obstacles you had to overcome to be where you are now?
As a freelance audio guy, I don't work for a company, so my job is finding work.
Oh.
And basically paying the bills,
Yeah.
and not pissing off the clients, because it'll cost you work.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes you get busy. There's been so many.
Do you feel people in your field get the credit they deserve?
It's tough to say, because I get all the trade magazines, so I read about the people in my field. Pro Sound, it talks about the engineers for the Grammys. It tells you what gear they use, who the engineers are, who they work with. So I would say I'm aware of the people in the industry, but our industry is a behind-the-scenes industry. You don't want to be seen.
So you don't think so?
I think the guys who get, basically, if you're employed, you're doing all right. There's guys that do sound for Metallica. He's world-renowned. When Myers Speakers comes out with a new speaker, they interview Big Mick from Metallica. There's certain guys who are that well-known, but on your average, man, they're mostly just hard-working people who like what they do.
I feel you get the credit.
I don't want it.
You don't want it?
I get a lot of work by word of mouth, so I feel that my skills are appreciated by the people who recommend me for other jobs. I started out at a festival as like the flyer guy. 15 years later, I run the stage. So I just keep improving.
Move up.
That's it.
I feel that's what it's all about, moving up.
Like I said, you learn from your mistakes, and then implement that to the next phase, and the next phase, and eventually you just hopefully go up. So there you go, Otto. Nice to meet you.
There you go. Is there anything you would tell someone who is just starting in the audio industry, or give them any warnings?
You will not sleep a lot. It's usually longer hours. I don't do any live studio, so it's a different. I don't do any recording studio, so it's a different beast in a studio. From what I've heard, in a studio, you basically go in hours early, set it up, and kind of wait around a lot of times. In the live field, sometimes you show up an hour and a half late, and you still have to be ready for that time. So there's so much craziness going on. You just got to kind of be prepared for it.
All right.
Like, we want a job in the audio field.
True.
Like most of them, it's sad to say most sound guys are failed musicians.
Yeah, I guess.
I've never even tried to be a musician. I just never learned. I just knew I liked music, and the only way for me to get involved in the music was get a job. And I knew a guy who worked at Lupo's. I was like, teach me sound. He's like, work for free.
Out of all the artists you've worked for?
Max Creek was the guys who got me in the field. They gave me a chance back like 2004. Their monitor engineer quit, and they were like, we like you. Like I said, it's all about who you know and how friendly you are. They were like, we like you, we'll give you a chance. They know I'd been interning at Lupo's for a month or two. And I was very glad they didn't fire me that first day, because it was awful. The band doesn't sound check, so we played the old living room, and the old living room's gear was shitty. They had duct tape over channel strips in the board. It was as shitty as it can be, which is great to learn on, because if you can fix it, you can make it work, and then the gig continues. So they were very patient with me, and that helped out a lot.
Cool. My question is, was there ever a moment where you felt like, damn, I love my job?
Every time I work, usually. Wyatt just mentioned my band, Max Creek, that I work for. Through that band, I've worked for the drummer of the Grateful Dead and the bass player of the Allman Brothers in a trio group touring the East Coast. I've done gigs in Costa Rica. I've done gigs in Hawaii.
Nice.
They're all fun. you know, then you suck it up and you do some of the corporate gigs, which the pay is better, but they're boring as hell. So you kind of, you know, you got to mix and match.
Yeah.
It's all the same gear. It's just some are more fun than others, but you just got to treat them all important. You know, the smallest gig to the biggest gig, you want to just treat them all as they matter. You know, you don't want to treat one worse than the other.
Yeah.
So then it reflects on you, like, oh, that guy did a shitty job today.
Go-to microphone for live sound.
Depends on what you're recording, man. It's, you know, back in the day, the SM57 was the all-around versatile mic. You see people singing on it, you see it miking up snare drums, you see it miking up guitar cabinets. Nowadays, I like the Telefunken brand. I mean, it's tough to say. Whatever's good for the gig. You know, 421s are good for Leslie's. The 609's good for guitar cabinets. Different singers, you might want a Beta versus an SM. It's tough to say what my favorite is. Because I work with a band that's got 24 inputs.
Yeah.
So they're all my favorite,
Yeah,
and they're all
nice.
different. Sometimes, as you can spend more money, you can get smaller microphones, which when I was working for the drummer, their dad, he would break a lot of the bigger microphones, just dudes all over the place. So you'd want smaller capsule microphones, but you also want them durable. So it's tough to say. I guess I don't have a favorite. I just like the ones that work.
You would never work with again. Anybody that's stuck
Yeah,
to you.
the guy who trained me. He's can edit that part out, but yeah. Sometimes, man, people are just not that cool, and then, you know, it's a tight industry, man. There's not a lot of people in it, so there is some backstabbing.
Mhm.
But I'd rather work with people who want to help other people out instead of trying to like squeeze around and take the client from you, so to speak.
Yeah.
For instance, this one particular person, you know, the shadier side, man. We had a gig, we hired him for the gig, and on the gigs I worked for him, you weren't allowed to talk to the client. You were just like the help.
Mhm.
Just cool, man. I'm here to set up the audio. I don't really need to talk to the clients. They pay the bills.
Yeah.
And we hired him for a gig, and the first thing he did was try to talk to the clients to steal the gig. I don't like to work with those type of people.
Did he get a job today, like in the industry that you work in, rather than when you first started?
It's tough to say.
'Cause you
It's about the same, I guess. I mean, it somewhat depends on the economy. If there's no shows, there's no work. That's like, you know, corporate world, there's nothing in December because they all take vacations. There's nothing in July because they all take vacations. So I do festival work, I do corporate work, I do rock and roll. Mix it all together to kind of fill in the gaps.
a little bit of everything.
My biggest job is maintaining my calendar.
To like actually know what you're doing, like.
I'm still learning. New consoles every day. There's Midas, there's Yamaha, there's PreSonus. There's so many different things out there that you're constantly learning. Yeah, I mean, the more you can learn, the better you are. That's why I'd like to do some video work. Another thing to add to the resume. And it's another hobby. I would say, it's tough to say which would be easier to get into the industry 10 years ago versus today. Because I've been in the industry for 10 years and I still am constantly trying to find new gigs and make an enjoyment factor. Like if my band quits working through no fault of my own, I'm out of work.
Yeah.
They've been playing 43 years. There's no guarantee they're going to go on forever.
So what would you do?
Just go on Craigslist and start looking for work. I did some camera work for the Big East Cable News Network and filmed a few soccer games and lacrosse games. Pay was good and it was fun. It was another thing towards my building up my cameraman resume. This is your best way to get more gigs.
Yeah.
I did, when I got my gig with Bill Kreutzmann and O'Teal and my guitar player, I flew myself out to Chicago, set up a rehearsal, then we did a show in Lincoln Zoo in the afternoon, then we did another show at night, and I made $100.
Wow.
But then I had a tour for 3 years.
Worth
So, I mean, I guess I didn't make $100 because I had to buy my own airfare and buy my own hotel room. But they were, like, at the end of the day, they're like, here's $100, thanks for your help. And then I had a job, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Don't like rap music. I don't like working rap shows. They're,
Mosh pits.
well, doing the sound, you're not in the mosh pit, so it doesn't bother you so much. Problem that I've had with rap is they show up late, there's 15 people running around stage, and you don't know who's got the microphone. They're all switching it up. And then they do like a 15-minute set that should have been an hour, but they were 45 minutes late. And it's just not fun. And just not bitch so much about shit that I can't control. Because you can't. It's just like, well, just get it done. Because at the end of the day, you want to get the paycheck, you don't want to piss anybody off, and you just want to move on to the next gig. And that's the nice thing about this industry is there's always another gig. So that person you saw yesterday, you might never see again. So just kind of like, you know, suck it up. It is a job, and you're not going to love every day, and they're not all going to be easy. So you kind of got to bite the bullet sometimes and go with it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So, thanks again for coming.
No problem.